Hi, welcome to the channel. In this video, we will see how we can implement a simple JWT authentication in ASP.NET Web API application. There will be three parts in this video. In the first part, I will show you how we can create a simple JWT token. I will create a login API endpoint, and in this, we will use hard-coded credential for user login, as at this stage, we will not use any database. So we will be only focusing on how JWT authentication works. On login, we will generate a JWT token, and then I will show how to protect API endpoints with JWT authentication. In the second part, I will show how you can use your custom database to store user information. We will create a registration endpoint to register new users, and we will modify the already created login API to use our database for authentication. And in the third part, I will show how you can use ASP.NET Identity in your application for user management. Identity is a user management solution for ASP.NET, and it has all user management and authentication features already implemented. You will see how it is more helpful than implementing your own user authentication logic. So let's get started. I have opened my Visual Studio and I will go to File, New Project to create a new project. And in this, I will select ASP.NET Core Web API template. It is here in my recent project templates list, but you can also search it from this side. Select ASP.NET Core Web API template and click on Next. And then for the project name, I will give it a very simple name, JWT auth, and click on Next. And for the framework, I will select .NET 8.0 long-term support. At this time, actually .NET 9.0 is released, but that is actually a standard term support. So I will go with the .NET 8.0, and I will leave everything else as it is, and then click on Create. So this is the new project which is created by Visual Studio. First, I will create a new controller, but actually I will also use this weather forecast controller to show you the protected and non-protected route. But for the authentication, we will create a new controller, which will be called auth controller. So to create a new controller, just right click on the controllers, add controller, and here actually we need to select controller template. I will not select this MVC, but select this API. So make sure you select API controller empty and click on Next. And here I will give this name auth controller. So click on Add. So this is the simple API controller generated by Visual Studio. In this auth controller, first we will create our login endpoint, public action result login, and just close this, and inside this I will write return OK. So this login, so this is a very simple action method, and our login will require username and password. So I can go ahead and directly pass this information like username and password here. But in this tutorial, actually we will use view models. So let's first create the view models folder. So right click here, add new folder, and let's give it name view models. Enter. And let's add a new class inside this. So right click, add class, and we will add the class named login view model. Click on add. So in this login view model, we will have two properties. So first will be username. So I will write prop public string username, and second will be password. So prop public string password. Now we will also add validation in this. In our case, we have username and password both as required fields. So I will write here a new attribute required, and this required attribute is from system.componentModel.data annotation, and here error message is equal to username is required. Same way we will also add this required attribute for password. So I will go ahead and copy this and paste it here, and let's change it to password is required. So let's save this and come back to the auth controller class, and in the parameter I will pass login view model, and let's add some required attributes on this. So first one is that we will add the HTTP post attribute, because this will be a post type request, and let's add the route. So route, and the route will be called login. So in our case, the full URL will be example.com/API/auth/login, and then inside this login method we'll check if model.username is equal to John and model.password is equal to 12345. So here we are just hard coding these credential, and if this credential works, then return OK, otherwise return unauthorized. So this is a very simple login endpoint. Now to test our changes, let's run this application. Now here our application is running and it is showing us Swagger UI. Here I can go ahead and test our login API endpoint directly from this UI. For example, if I go here and select and click on try it out, and in the username let me give some value and some password and execute it, and here you can say like it is showing the result, like here it's giving 401. But here I will use Postman to test our API endpoints. So I will go ahead and copy this endpoint and I will open Postman, and here I will create a new request. You can also create a new request from here. Click on this new button and select create new, and our request will be type of post, and I will just post this login endpoint URL here, and let me just copy this request body, come back to Postman, and I will go to the body section, select raw, and the type will be JSON, and here I will paste it, and let's click on this send button and it will perform our API request, and here you can see it is giving us 401 unauthorized because here we have the wrong username. So I will just give it correct username and the password as we hard coded in the API endpoint, and then hit on send again, and here you can see it is giving us 200 OK. It means our hard coded API endpoint is working. Now back to the Visual Studio, as our hard coded credentials are working fine. So now we will write the logic that will generate a JWT token on a successful login. For that we will use a NuGet package, which is microsoft.ASP.NET Core.authentication.jwt bearer. So let's do that. So right click here go to manage NuGet packages, and I will go to the browse tab and search JWT. I will just search JWT, and from the result here you can see our package microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Authentication.jwt bearer. So we'll select this, and here you can see it is showing the latest stable 9.0.2 version. But as we are using .NET 8 for this tutorial, if we install this one, it will give us issues. So I will go ahead and make sure I will select .NET 8.0 version, which is 8.0.13 is the latest one, and install it. Select apply, and I accept. And this package is now installed. So I'll come back to our auth controller, and here inside our login method, let's write the code that will generate JWT token. So where token is equal to create new token. So I will create this method which will create the token. Let me rename it create token. So I will create a new method which will be called create token, brackets, semicolon. So this method will generate the token, and once we get the token from this method, we will send it back to the user. So in our return statement here in the inside OK, we will pass a new object. So new, and we will create a anonymous type object. So new curly braces, and first field will be status, which will be type of boolean. So generally we will send true or false. So here we are sending true, and then a message, and that message will say like success, because it's a success response. And then we will send some data. So the first data, we will just send access token. So I will give it name access token is equal to token. So let's close this. So this is the response that we will be sending. Let's save this, and now let's create this method. So I will come here and I will press control dot, or you can select from this icon and generate method create token, and here it created that method. Now in this create token method, first thing that we will need is a signing key. So I will just delete this not implemented exception and write where signing key is equal to new symmetric security key, which is from microsoft.identitymodel.tokens. Select this, hit tab, and it requires the byte array as the key. So here actually we need to pass some secure string, like some secure text, which will be used to sign our token. So I will write encoding dot, and let's import the namespace of encoding. So I will press control dot, and we'll select using system.text dot utf8 dot get bytes, and inside this we will pass our super secure string. So it could be any string that you want. Generally you will keep this string on a secure location, but I'm not going to make this tutorial very much complicated. So what I will do is I will just write this token directly here, but it's not the best practice, and never you should write the security key directly in the code as hard coded as I'm going to show you. So this is just for the demo purpose, and I will give the value as super secret key store in secure place, and let's close this. So now we have the signing key, which we will use to sign our token. Now let's add some claims that we will add in our token. So where claims is equal to new, and it will be an array, and then curly braces. So let's add some claims. So new claim, and the first claim will be your JWT registered claim names, and let's import this name specific control dot system identity model tokens dot JWT dot, and first will be our email. So here you can see like we have different claims. We have email and we have sub and many more claims, means whatever claims you want to add. We will go with the only the required one which will be used in this tutorial. And if I go ahead and open jwt.io website, which is actually used to see the contents of the JWT token. And here on this website, you can see they have a sample JWT token. And here you can see the decoded contents of that token. So the first part is the header, so this red one. Then we have the payload, which is here, and then we have our signature. And in this payload you can see the information like sub, name, and issued at. These things are also the part of your claims, so we will use these in our application. And in our case, for the email we will use the user's email, and for the sub we will use the user's username. So I will go ahead and pass these two things in our method parameter. So first will be string email, and second will be string user ID. And here we will pass this information. So for now, actually, we don't have the email because we are using the hard-coded credential and we have only the username. So I will pass the username in both of these fields. So model.username, comma model.username. But when we will implement our own database in the second part, and we will have the email field in the database, then we will use the email field here. And same with the identity. When we will use identity, we will use the username and the email field from the identity. So come back here, dot email, and the value will be email, which is our parameter, comma. Let's add another claims. I will just hit Control plus T to duplicate this line. And here in the second one, we will use sub, and the value will be user ID. And the same way you can also go ahead and add the name claim also, but I am not going to do that here. Feel free to do that. And I will also add one more, the last one, and this will be JTI, and our JTI will be a GUID. The value for the JTI is generally a unique identification number. But right now we don't have any unique identification number for this user because we are using hard-coded credential. So what we will do is like we will use a GUID ID. So generally it's our user ID from the database or some unique ID, but here we will use GUID ID for that purpose. So GUID dot new GUID, then dot to string. So that's it. Now let's close this statement, semicolon. And then we need to create our token. And here you can see the suggestion from the Visual Studio. So I will use this suggestion. Hit double tab, and this JWT security token will have issuer. And issuer is generally the entity which issues the token, and generally it's the domain. So I will use the domain name here. So https://. So here you can write your own domain, but I am going to use example.com, then comma, and the same way we will have audience. and it will be also https colon slash slash. And actually audience field is the entity who are supposed to use this token. So here you can use your own website or any of your subdomain. So like myapp.example.com, or even you can use the example.com itself. And then we have expires. So like when this token will expire, what will is the lifetime. So date time dot now dot add days. And here I'm using add days, but it is up to you, like what you want to keep the lifetime. It could be in minutes, it could be even in seconds. But for this tutorial I am going to use add days, and I will use 1 day only. And then we have claims, and we will pass our claims object, and which is defined right here. And then we have signing credential, and it will be new signing credentials, and in the parameter we'll pass our signing key, which is here, and the algorithm will be SHA-256, and that algorithm is from here. You can see like HS-256, so we will use the same. So algorithm will be security algorithms dot HMAC-SHA-256. So we'll use this first one, and let's close this, and then semicolon, and then we will return new JWT security token handler, and we will use this suggestion, which is write token token. So that's the token generation logic. Now let's test it. So run the application, and let's test it in Postman. So I will come here, and actually I will give the wrong password and click on send. Here you can see it is giving us 401 unauthorized, and let's set the correct password and click on send again. And here you can see we are getting a access token. If I go ahead and copy this and come back to jwt.io website and paste it here, you can see like we have our header, which is HS-256, and then we have our payload. You can see like we have the email, we have the sub John, and you can see the JTI, which is the unique identifier for this token, which is our GUID ID, and it expires. So today is February 16th. It's expiring on February 17th. So it's 1 day expiration time. And issuer is the example.com, and the audience is the myapp.example.com. So these were the claims which we added. Now let's go ahead and use this token. Actually, I will show you how you can use this token to access the projected routes in WebAPI application. So come back to Visual Studio, and let's first stop this, and we will reuse this weather forecast controller. So we have this endpoint here, a single get method. I will just duplicate this, so we will have two get methods. And also I will use routing to access these endpoints, just like we have in the auth controller here. Here you can see we have route login. So same way we will also have the route for these methods. So for that I will remove this thing, and I will add route and give it value get. Give it value get. And same way we will have another API endpoint which will be protected, and we will give this name get auth, and the same with the method name, and this will be protected. So we will add authorize attributes on top of this method. So now let's run the application. So here I will go ahead and try it out, execute, and I will copy this API endpoint, come back to our postman and paste it here and just send this request. And here you can see we are getting 200. Okay, and same way we will create a new request, get auth, and hit send. And here you can say it is giving 500 internal server error, and it says no authentication scheme was specified. So actually what we have done is like we have not added the token validation in the pipeline. We have just added the attribute, like you have to authorize the request, but how it will authorize, we have not defined it. So that's why it is also showing like there was no default challenge scheme found. So we need to add the logic using which ASP.NET will authorize our incoming token. So let's do that. Come back to program.cs file, and here before builder.build, we will add our authentication logic in our services container. So builder.services dot add authentication, and here I will pass anonymous method O such that, and O is as an option. So these are the options which are passing. So O dot default authentication scheme is equal to JWT bearer defaults dot authentication scheme, and next will be O dot default challenge scheme is equal to JWT bearer defaults dot authentication scheme, and then O dot default scheme that will be also JWT bearer defaults dot authentication scheme. So here we are saying that we are using JWT bearer scheme for the authentication, and now we need to add this setting, like how our application will verify that the incoming token is valid. So let's do that. So dot add JWT bearer, and this time I'll write options, like full name, like options such that, and okay, let me delete this space, come back here, and options dot require HTTPS metadata, which is yes, and options dot token validation parameters, like how you will validate the token, is equal to new Microsoft.identitymodel.tokens.token validation parameters. So I will select this one, and inside this we will set validate audience is equal to true. So we need to validate the audience, then validate issuer is equal to 2, and we need to validate the lifetime, so it's equal to true. And do we need to validate the issuer signing key? So I think yes. So validate issuer signing key is equal to true, and we need to set, and we need to also provide like who are the valid issuer and who are the valid audience. So valid issuer is equal to https://example.com. And as I said, like this valid issuer is the same like here in auth controller where we are generating the token. So this is we have the issuer here and audience here. It should be the same. Let me copy this, come back here, and then the valid audience will be this value. So this is just for this demo, but you can have more than one valid audience. So it like depends on your setup. And then next is issuer signing key is equal to new symmetric security key, and it will be the same like here. So I will just copy this thing from here and paste it here, because you need to decode the key using the same signing key that you used for encoding the key. Okay, So that's why we just copied and pasted it here. So this is our setting for the authentication scheme. Now let's run the application and test these changes. And I will come to the Postman and hit the send request again. And still we are getting 40 unauthorized because you need to provide the access token. So I'll come back here, copy this token, copy it, and I will come back here. And before I run this, let me run the public endpoint, means the endpoint which is not protected, and it is working fine. So come back here, and for this one we need to provide the access token in the authorization header. So I will come to the authorization tab. We will select bearer token, and I will just paste this token here and click on send, and it is saying 401 unauthorized. Okay, it's not working. So let me like again do the login, and let's copy this fresh access token and paste it again here and send. Okay, again we are getting 401 unauthorized. So there must be some issue. Let me check. What's the issue here? True. And then validate audience is true, validate issuer is true, validate lifetime true, valid issuer signing key is true, valid issuer we have, valid audience myapp.example.com. And if we come back to the auth controller where we are generating our token, we have issuer, audience, then we have expired date one. Oh, actually here is the issue. Our issuer has the typo, so example is missing a. Let me save it. So you see, like as I said, like issuer should match, otherwise it will not work. So let's come back to Postman, and here let me again re-log in because we have changed the create token issuer value. So let me copy this access token, paste it here, and send it. And now you can see it's working fine. It is giving 200 OK. So now if I go ahead and see our token value on JWT.io, here we have actually the old token, and here you can see the issuer wrong value exmple.com. And let me paste the newer token here. And what I'm going to show you is like how it will validate if the incoming token is tempered or not. So here what I will do is like I will change some of the values and try to do the login using the tempered JWT token. So let me change some of the payload value. Now here you can see we have the correct issuer value example.com. You can change the expiration time, we can change the email, we can change the subject. So let me change the subject itself. So I will just add one, and you can see as I change this payload part in the encoded section is now changed. And let me copy this thing, this middle part, come back to Postman, and I will just replace this middle part. And actually let me go ahead and copy this old token and paste it here and send. And here you can see like it's giving 401 unauthorized, and let's change it back to the old one, send it, and it's working fine. So you can see like even if, because payload data is base 64, payload and header is actually the base 64 only, anyone can see the token. But if they try to manipulate your token, change it, they cannot do the login because they don't know the actual signing key of this token. Once they know the signing key, then they can bypass the security. So the main secure thing in the JWT token authentication is the signing key which you are using. So you must save this on a secure location. Here we are just saving it code base itself. Actually it's hard coded, but it's very good practice to save it in a secure location like Azure Vault or something like that, similar to that. So let me close this and stop the debugging. So this was the first part where we were doing hard-coded credential, and I showed you like how you can generate the token and secure some endpoints using that token. In the next part, we will use our own database in which we will save our user information and we will do the authentication using that database.